Okay, hello everybody, and welcome to session number 6 in our series of Powershape webinars. And for this session, I've entitled it Reverse Engineering Number 2. Now, in a previous session, what I covered were other reverse engineering techniques, such as triangle model registration, how to align different triangle sets together when they're not in the same coordinate system, how to triangulate over point clouds and the best techniques there, best practices to get the best results for the triangle spacing. I also covered how to surface over a mesh, and there are many different strategies for doing that, using simple surfaces that are trimmed and untrimmed, shrink wrap surfaces, and the smart surfacer. So all of that is in a previous session, which is available from the webinar website. So for this session, what I'm going to be looking at is the automatic mesh segmentation tool that we have within Powershape. This is some work we did recently to really help simplify and automate the process of reverse engineering more geometric shapes and so on. But of course, you can use that in conjunction with the other techniques that I covered in a previous session. And there's a manual version of that, or an interactive version of that, as I like to think of it, which allows me to take some control over the automation and just choose the areas that I want to work with. So I'll be covering some techniques there. And then, of course, once you've got all this this surface information, there's an automatic surface trimming tool that I'd like to point out. It can be used in many different areas. It doesn't have to be just from reverse engineering. But I'd like to sort of cover that and cover some tips and tricks for that along the way. Okay, so let's make a start. I'll just toggle through to Powershape, bear with me. There it is. And we can see the part that I've read in. It's a triangle model that I'd like to think about reverse engineering. So of course I can select the triangle set, and as soon as I do that, I get a manage page that allows me to go and manage and select specific commands that are available to me for this type of operation. And the very first option on there is the segmentation tool. So I can simply click that. If I go for the pull down, there are different options in there, but the very first one is segmentation. So I can simply click it, and immediately what happens is Powershape goes off and analyzes the triangle set, looking for obvious primitives that are on the model. And it also gives me some sort of fit indication as to how well the fit is, or how good the fit is rather, for key regions for the type of entity it's put in place. So there's some really obvious ones I'd like to take, such as this top plane. And to keep them, all I simply need to do is select it with the left-hand mouse key, and then using the right-hand mouse key, simply click it once, and that keeps the copy. Up until now, these are merely previews of what I could keep if I wish. So I've taken that top face. Excellent. Now let's take this back face. Again, left key, right key to keep it. Do you notice that as I do that, areas that I've committed to turn white to make it really obvious to me as to the areas that I've got a surface for reverse engineering purposes. So again, I'll take this face here. So that's all good. And then there's some faces on this upstand here that I'll take. Maybe that one there. Yeah, we like that. And also this one here, we'll take that one. So that's left key, right key. Top face we'll take as well, left key, right key. And then I can start to look at what's going on around here. Now I can see that there are faces that we have not yet acquired. We don't have a primitive for. And this is where I can start to play with the similarity angle in this top region here. And if I slide that slider and then re-hit the preview button, what happens is Powershape goes off and looks for other possibilities where maybe with a slightly different criteria for angle, if you like, slightly more tolerant amount of leeway as to what the angle is for the face, it can find different entities. So you can see here there's a bunch of regions in there, that pocket that I can now see that I'm going to take. So there's that face there. There's another face by the look of it, which is this back face there, which I'll take. And then there's a face here, which we'll take. And then there's another face on the far side, which I'll also take. Excellent. So that's that region done. But we still do not have a face for the front region here or this side region here. So rather than go upwards and be more tolerant with the angle, I'll just leave that up so you can see the help text there. I'm going to take it downwards and re-preview. So I can massage here with that slider to recognize different areas at different times. And again, I'm going to take that face and keep it with the right mouse key. Elsewhere, do the same. Yeah, and in these other key areas, I'm going to go into a manual mode because it's not really picking out what I want here. So let's go into manual mode and pick these faces. And to do that, what I simply do is go and click on the manual segmentation option just here. And a form pops up here, a little form that says, okay, what are you looking for? And I can choose the style of entity I'm looking for. And now I'm going to pre-select and say, I only look for planes. And then I can click a region and I get this angle control here that allows me to sort of fine tune where the region is that I'm interested in. When I preview now, you can see that I get a face for that region that I can simply hit the tick to commit. Likewise, over this side, I'm going to go and choose a face here, preview what that would look like the look of that, the fit's good, click the tick. So now there's this face here that I'd like to take. Looks good, preview, and let's keep that. So I'm going to have a quick look around the model to see what I've got. So I've got the key faces here. Have I got the underside? No, I haven't. So let's take that. Yeah, we'll keep that. So we've got the 4 sides, the bottom, the top. We've got the upstand here. We've got the recess there. Let's go for maybe some of these primitives on here. And I'm going to go for this cylinder. Now, currently I'm in triangle selection according to horizon angle. So in other words, from the direction that I'm looking at, it washes out according to an angular change, and that's the region that it sees. But I'm going to change that now to be a discontinuity angle. So now it will look for sharp edges and stop at those, depending on the criteria I've got set on this slider. So you can see here I can detune that and say, okay, that's the area I'm looking for, and it's not a plane, it's a cylinder that I need. And sure enough, you can see that I have my cylinder, which I can keep, repeat the process over the far side here, and immediately it gets the cylinder region that I want. And then, of course, I can take the top region. So I need this to be a plane. So we're in interactive mode here. Go for plane. Select this top region. Good enough. Keep that. And, of course, we can go over the far side, preview, and take that. Excellent. So I'm going to exit out of here and cancel out of this form. And as soon as I cancel, what we see is all of the faces that I've created appear, and I'm ready to go on to maybe the next stage. But I've just noticed I didn't get the cylinder here, sorry, the sphere here. So let's look at that on its own for a moment. And rather than relaunch the automatic segmenter, let's go in and choose directly the manual version. So now we're going straight into manual mode only, or interactive mode only. And again, I can go and choose that I'd like to do this either by horizon angle or by discontinuity. If I leave it in horizon angle, the difference now is from the point that I click, excuse me, let me just click that. Horizon angle, from the point that I click, it washes out a distance of angular change. And of course, I can then increase that to be the region that I want. Maybe something like this. Once I've got that region, I can ask for a sphere, and I can preview this sphere. And it shows me the potential sphere that I would get. But if I look at that, you can see that it's only a partial sphere. It's actually trimmed it. And what I really want is a complete sphere for that region. So if I go into the settings, what I can do is change the fit method to switch off trimming. And now when I preview, what I get, if I try and show that, is a complete sphere for that region. So I'll keep that and finish that command. Right, so I've pretty much got everything I want right now. So I'm going to switch all of that back on and switch off the triangles for a moment. And I can see that these faces aren't quite long enough here. So I'm going to take those and just simply drag those out to be longer in the region that I want. So let's go here and here. That's good. So just need them to overlap. Just make sure that wasn't very good, that one. Let me just drag that out a bit further. That's better. And also over this side here, let's just make sure that those overlap. Something like that. Maybe not that much. Okay, so we've got those all overlapping, and it looks like I've got the solution that I want there. So now I can move on and start to think about the automatic trimming tool. And if I simply select all of these surfaces and go through to the solid toolbar, on the pull down on the far left hand side here, I have the ability to choose the automatic trimming option. And when I click that, what happens is Powershape does its best to make sense of all of the surfaces that I've got and turn it into a closed valid solid. And now you can see there that it's given me a great result straight off the bat. That's exactly what I wanted. However, what I'd like to do is show you how you can work with that when it doesn't give you quite what you want. So let's delete that, and I'll switch on some surfaces where I've taken time to make them a bit more awkward for the trimming tool. So I have those on another layer here. And let's repeat the process. So again, I go for the automatic trimming option, and we get a kind of a guess at the result. And you can see that's not what I wanted. So now I can start to take advantage of this automatic trimming tool to really get to what I really wanted. And I can do that by being less aggressive with the trimming or more aggressive with the trimming, depending on my needs. And as I wind that down, you can see that I get different permutations of what the solution might be based on what I've given the trimming tool to analyze. And I'll try a couple of options there. You can see different variations. Nothing's really giving me what I want here. So what I can do now is just wind this completely back to the left-hand side. Powershape does something very different now. What it does is it trims everything to everything, but doesn't remove anything. Like so. And now what I can do as a user is simply go in and click faces. So I've clicked that with the left mouse key, that face, and then I'm going to hold the shift key down, and I'm going to click key faces all the way around this part. So those 4 faces there I've selected, and then I'm immediately going to, I don't know if you can see there's a new little form that's popped up. I'm going to say keep. So what I'm doing really is giving Powershape some extra information about the areas that I do and do not want for the trimming, the automatic trimming facility. So I've given that some regions there. Let's give it a bit more of a clue and say that we've got a region up here, maybe. Let's take some of this region. And also on the underside, I'd like to keep some of this area here as well. There, let's keep those as well. And in the same way that we can choose to keep things, we can also choose to delete things. So I'll do that with just the ends of that cone, for example, just to show that in operation. So let's take this cone here. I don't want the top side of that, and I don't want the bottom side of that. Shift key held down, and I'll simply click the delete button. Okay, so I've given Powershape more of a clue now. I've kind of interactively gone in there and given it more of a clue as to what I do not want for this operation. So now let's wind that slider back across again to roughly the default position, which is about 1/5 of the way along. And look what happens. We get a much closer solution to what we wanted. Still not perfect, but here's the thing. I can go in again and simply choose the things that aren't quite right and simply delete those. And we've arrived at the same solution, albeit from very different quality data. Okay, so then I want to start thinking about how I can add into this with other features that are on that triangle set. So let's blank off the solid for a moment. Here's the solid. To save a little bit of time, what I've done here is I aligned a work plane. I don't know if you can see that there. I've aligned a work plane to the solid or the surface underneath here. So I'll just switch that on. So now we're in a sort of a more geometric space, if you like. And now I want to go and capture this region here, this borehole here. And to do that, I'll select the triangles, go into the manage mode. Let's go for the manual segmenter. And again, I can flip this over to be discontinuity angle. I know that I want a cylinder on this occasion, and let's click the interior cylinder there. And then just wind down the search criteria to give me what I wanted. When I preview that, we get a cylinder, we get a fit, that's good. And I can repeat the process for this upper region, preview, excellent. And now I can go and choose the plane that I want. Preview that. All good. So if I finish this operation here, what we see is that I've captured the key information for that region. And I'm going to just switch off the triangles for a moment. Now I could use traditional Boolean operations to go and capture the region of that I want, or I could use that trimming tool from the solid trim page to simply choose what it is I'd like to keep. And we have our ball region. Of course, I can then add that back into the solid. Let's take this first solid here, make that the active one, and simply intersect these two to get the result that we wanted in that region. So that leaves just the corners really. So if we have a look again at the triangle set and hide that information, you can see we have these interesting corner regions here. And this is where you can really combine different techniques. Up until now, I've used pretty much exclusively the segmentor, both manual and interactive, to get to the stage I'm at. But here I'd like to use maybe some sectioning. Very straightforward to do. Let's select the triangle set, go to the visualization page and go for some dynamic sectioning. And on this page, I'm going to switch off and just use the front page, front region rather, for the slicing. Switch on that I'm working along the Z-axis, and then go and choose somewhere that I'd like to maybe slice. So let's say somewhere around, click the button here to say I'd like to slice somewhere around this point here. I'd like arcs, so let's switch that on, and let's create our section. Now when I switch off the triangle set, you can see that I have information regarding that region. Okay, and it's easy enough for me here to go in and start to break this into key regions. So I can select this, go for the edit page, and simply cut this into key entities. So here and here, here maybe, and here, and then look to extend those. So if I select everything except this, this, and this, delete those, I can then go on to extend. So I'll just quickly grab and drag an end, drag another end, and so on. And then of course I can select all of this, turn it into an extrusion in both directions, and we have that region done. And of course I could go and capture off with the segmentor tool the flat regions that were in that triangle model. So if I just draw that for you so you can see, I can use the segmentor to capture those two flat planes in the same way that we saw a moment ago. And what that leaves us then is key regions like this. Of course, I can then go and choose my main solid, which is this body here, and select these three solids that I've just created using the segmentor, the interactive trimming tool, to simply cut away the regions that are those corners. There we go. One moment. Do that again. There we go. Switch off. That's good. So this is the solid we're working on. Yeah. And if we take these regions here, get rid of that one for a moment, that one, and this one, and switch on this layer here. There we go. And chop those away. We arrive at what we want. That I don't need, so we'll lose that. And there we are. Okay, so that leaves the fillets in these regions here. So if I go back to the triangle set, I just need to understand what size those fillets are. Now I could go in and start to take cross sections and measure and so on, or I could use the segmentor tool to my advantage here. I'll go for a manual option, tell it that I'm looking for a cylinder, and now let's go in and just choose a region and preview, maybe slightly more. Yeah, that's good. Preview what a cylinder would look like in that area. Likewise, do the same in this region here. Again, I could wind it up to a slightly larger amount if I wanted. Preview what a cylinder would look like there. Keep that. So now, if I switch off the triangles and go measure these, by simply double clicking it, I get a primitive and it tells me, well, we'll call that 30 radius, and here 5 radius. So I've used the segmentor there to really capture what the radius is in the corner of this solid. So all that remains here really is to go into the solid toolkit and ask for a fillet. First of all, that is a 30 radius that goes in this corner, and this corner 5s that go in these regions here, 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 and here, and finally a 5 that goes around the top there. I think there might be a 1 mil round there. I might as well pop that on while I'm here. Cancel that off. So in a very short space of time, we've gone from a triangle set that looks like this, make that a little bit further over, to a solid with a full history that looks like this. Okay, so that was the automatic segmentor. The manual or interactive variation of it, and the automatic surface trimming tools being used to really get the best out of a reverse engineering scenario where maybe everything wasn't going fully automatically for us. So one thing I'd like to mention before I finish up is that we're running a series of technical update days, and next week we've got one in the north and one in the south of the UK. And if I just find my Explorer page here. So these are taking place next week. As I said, there's one in the north, one in the south, and we're going to be covering what's new, what's been going on with PowerMill 2018. We're going to be covering FeatureCam, what's been going on there, and also some updates on Powershape, as well as touching on other products that fall within the make space of Autodesk. So the NetFab, the True Series, and the Mold Flow products. Just a short piece on those. So if you're interested in those, contact Lisa using this email address, Lisa Big, MFG-UK@autodesk.com. Let her know, and you can come along to one of the 2 webinars that are taking place. The first is at the Manchester Lancashire County Cricket Club, Emirates Old Trafford, and the other one is at the Ageas Bowl down in Southampton. Okay, well that's about it for this session. All that remains is to thank you very much for taking the time to pop along and see what's been going on and how to get the most out of Powershape for reverse engineering. Thank you very much. Oh, incidentally, any questions that you've had along the way, I should have said, if you fire those into the text box there, we'll make a note of those, and as always, we'll email out to everybody what the answers are at a later stage. I'll leave the session open just for a moment or two while that's collecting those, and thank you very much for your time.